I know this is a little different this week, really this month. We usually have our deeper dive webinars the last Thursday of every month. And so if you're on now or you're watching a recording later, just know that we will be back up and running on our regular last Thursdays of the month next month in December. But of course, we have Thanksgiving coming up this Thursday. And so I hope everybody's excited and ready to eat a lot. I've been preparing for this special holiday the past couple of weeks, doing some food training. We're going to talk about a little bit about me being a food connoisseur in one of the slides, but excited to talk about this. We have an important topic today, but as you know, in our deeper dives, we dive a little bit deeper into a specific cybersecurity topic once a month, quick 30 minutes. But overall, some educational pieces to overall help you secure your business, your organization, your employees, as well as your clients. My name's Davin Chitwood. I have Tom, our founder and CEO, here today. And we're going to talk and jump right into the CEO's guide to cybersecurity and overall how to protect your business from hackers, from cyber attacks. A little bit about me. So I'm the sales executive here at IronTech Security. Cybersecurity specialist is a kind word to use, but my main focus is to help owners, CEOs, overall businesses protect their organization, keep their doors open. Of course, we're seeing an increase in cyber attacks, and so cybersecurity is becoming just a part of business and helping owners and CEOs understand their vulnerabilities, actually what they're in charge of protecting, if that's confidential information, their clients' information, the responsibility you have to protect your employees and your clients' financial information. There's a lot that goes into it, but in a nutshell, what we do is protect your business. Now, besides my professional specialty, I also am a Little League coach. I've been coaching now for maybe, I think it's about the past 8 to 10 years, basketball, t-ball, which has helped me with my patience, but also Little League football, flag football, everything like that. Highly involved in my community, but also food connoisseur is what I wanted to focus on today. And if you have a quick second, I know Thanksgiving is coming up. You can throw in the chat maybe what your favorite Thanksgiving food is that you're looking forward to. Me personally, I'm a sweet potato casserole type of person. I've been preparing my family and letting them know that is exactly what I would like. Hopefully a full tray to myself to take home, but definitely interested to see what you all have to say in the chat. Now, we usually start with a question, but no questions today. We're going to jump right into it. No, I know Tom has been talking about that blackened filet, I think, for about 3 weeks now. That's from Ruth Chris, right?
That's where it's going to be Thanksgiving.
Yes. No, and if you do have any questions throughout our webinar, feel free to throw them in the chat. And if we don't hop right on them during the webinar, we'll make sure and answer them at the end. But hopefully we'll try and answer all your questions as we go through. But why are we here today? Well, cybersecurity, of course, is extremely important, but why is it so important? And where does leadership fall into place? Why does it need to start at the top? What's kind of changing in the business culture regarding cybersecurity? Well, cybersecurity in 2022 and in the coming years is more important than ever, because one of the sole fact that we rely on technology to run and operate our businesses and do our daily tasks more than ever before. Everyone here is using technology to watch this webinar right now, or next week you may be logging on and catching the recording and watching this webinar maybe on your phone or your iPad. And the amount that we use technology, the numbers are increasing every single day. But when you throw cybersecurity in there and the fact that cyber attacks are increasing every single day, every single second, put in perspective, think about not being able to use your computers, your laptops, overall not being able to use technology maybe for a week or 2 weeks. and the effect that would have not only on your business, but operations, how that would affect your employees. If you couldn't do payroll on time, maybe for a month, how would that affect your employees, their families? How would that affect your clients? Not being able to reach you with questions or problems, or just not being able to provide the normal service that you usually do by using your technology for a week or two, or maybe even 2 days. I know a dental office, if you are out for 3 days and you have surgeries and your computers and technology is not working, there's a medical risk to your clients with that as well. And so the sheer fact that we have to use technology every single day to operate our business, and the fact that it can so easily be taken away, is why cybersecurity is so important, and is one of the real reasons why we're here today. But what we're seeing now, and I know Tom has a lot of insight on this point of fact regarding cybersecurity, is that cybersecurity starts with leadership. It starts with the CEOs, the owners, the managers, supervisors. It starts at the top, and it really creates a new culture regarding security, creating a security first culture. Tom, what do you have to add on to that?
Well, when you understand that what the research tells us, over 90% of successful breaches are due to a human failure, more likely than not, someone in your company has been manipulated or engineered or conned into allowing the hacker or his tools or whatever into your company. And so the best defense we have against attacks is educating, increasing awareness of attacks, and really treating it seriously in the company. It is cyber attacks are a clear and present danger to your entire organization, maybe your reputation, many other things, your clients, even your vendors, any of the stakeholders in your company. And it's real easy to make the management decision that we're going to add all these other layers, and they should be there. Humans fail, believe it or not. No one's perfect. And we want to put those technical controls, but basically they're there for the bulk of it, or at least over half of it is there to back up in case of the human failure, or for the rare instance where an attack is vectored in some other method, right? It wasn't an actual human failure, human decision failure. And so a challenge that we have with you guys and our clients is understanding that. And it's not something that you need to focus on every day, like financials and operations and HR and all of these other different things that you think about every day. But when you do think about it, it's got to be serious, it's got to be treated seriously, and it's got to be baked into the culture. And there's so many other examples of that. Things like your physical security is locking the front doors and just these common sense things. But the vast majority of the population really hasn't developed the common sense part of cybersecurity awareness or engagement or practice. And that's why we stress leadership so much. If you don't walk the talk, then how can you expect everyone else in the company to do so?
That's right. And going into that, talking about physical security and common sense, it's just now a common sense. Yeah, you go in for you go to your house for the day, you lock the door behind you, and then you forget about it. But maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't the case. You just walk in and you didn't think about a lock on the door. But until the threat or the increase in threats and attacks actually started happening, same with cybersecurity. We didn't really think about the importance of security until maybe the past 5+ years, simply because we weren't seeing the sheer scale of attacks, or maybe you weren't seeing as many of your friends or other businesses being attacked. And you might have thought, oh, well, it's not something I need to worry about. It's not going to affect me. It's not going to happen to me. But what we're seeing now is unreal numbers in the increase in attacks every single year, and password breaches, business email compromises. Small businesses, over 43% either experience an attack in a year, or going to or being attacked every single year. And so as a business owner, or just overall an employee, just think about, do you feel like you're vulnerable in some type of way, or do you feel like you have the proper security controls in place to stop a cyber attack? And if not, then of course you need to do something about it. And we're going to talk about a few tips, of course, to start, or at least take a step in the right direction. Now, you did touch on something that I do want to point out, and we're going to talk a little bit more about later in this webinar, but human error. It's one of our biggest risks, it's one of our biggest vulnerabilities. And the number that Tom said is, and it's true, 90% of successful attacks, cyber attacks, come from human error. Somebody clicking on a link from an email that they weren't too sure about, or providing credentials to someone that they thought was a trusted source, but that email could have been compromised, and they thought they were giving their login and credentials to the CEO or the owner of the company, but the email could have been compromised, and it could be a cyber attacker. Or we get in a rush and just give out information, not thinking about it. That happens way too often, and we're going to talk about ways to, of course, address that and prepare your employees to combat this risk. But also, as owner, as a CEO, it starts with you, and you have to lead the way, creating the security first culture. But how do you do that? Where can you start? Before a few tips that you can implement immediately to at least start your journey on getting to the security posture that you need to be at or want to be at. And the first step is simply get rid of antivirus. Now, well, don't shut us out now. I know you've been relying on antivirus for maybe 10 plus years, Norton McAfee, and you believe it's worked well, or maybe it's even failed you before. But plain and simple, antivirus is old security tools. It just doesn't work anymore. And sometimes you'll even hear us say that it's useless. But why do we say that? And I won't get too deep into the weeds here, but the way an antivirus works is that antivirus relies on known malicious virus signatures. So a security attack or a cyber attack has to happen, and it has to have a virus signature that is known to be malicious. And once that virus signature comes on a network or a device that the antivirus is on, that antivirus detects that known virus signature, and that may be whitelisted or something like that. And then it, of course, blocks that attack, or overall stops that virus from infecting the network. But plain and simple, cyber attacks and malicious activity, they've changed over the years. It's plain and simple that cyber attacks, they don't have a virus signature, and ransomware attacks don't have a virus signature at all. And so if an antivirus is looking for something that's not even there, that is why we say it's useless. But that doesn't mean that you're out of luck. There's nothing that you can do. There's a new tool that you could and should implement, and it's not something that you can get off of the shelf at Best Buy, but you actually have to go to a information security team, a cybersecurity team. This is a tool that we use at IronTech Security, and if you have a notebook, write it down. It's called an EDR tool, or an endpoint detection and response tool. You may see MEDR, or managed endpoint detection and response tool, but basically I call it the big brother to the antivirus. It doesn't rely on those virus signatures that aren't there anymore. It's looking for out of the ordinary behavior, uses behavior analysis, AI and machine learning. But basically, say you open a Word document. Now, when you open that Word document, there's specific activity that should happen every single time. And the EDR, the endpoint detection response tool, it knows that, understands that. But if there's something malicious attached to that Word document, say you open the Word document, looks fine to you, but it may try and access a folder in the background or send information out to another source from your device or from your network, of course, that behavior is not normal. It's out of the ordinary. And so the EDR would be able to isolate that attack, partnered, and once again, manage. You have to have a cybersecurity team to manage this tool, but it would isolate that attack, analyze it, and in the end, get rid of that attack, preventing an overall ransomware attack, which is what you're trying to prevent. Preventing that downtime that we were talking about in the beginning of the webinar. And if you don't take anything from this webinar today, an EDR tool, endpoint detection and response tool, that is the tool that you need on all of your computers, your servers. That is what you need to protect your business. That needs to be the first step or the first security tool to implement to start your journey, your path to getting to the security posture that you need to be at. Now, like I said, this isn't a tool you can get off the shelf. This is something that if you go to any cybersecurity specialist, this is what they will recommend.
Or they should.
Or they should. And
and then I would question, are they a cybersecurity specialist if they don't put in an EDR?
Yes.
And if anyone's a client on here, you have it. You have two, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't have to worry about it. But for those of you that aren't clients of ours, that's what you need to look for. That's how you can cut. That's how you know who you're talking to. If they can tell you what an EDR is and why it's different than antivirus, that's how you know you're talking to the right person.
That's exactly right. And this
Yeah.
would replace, and when we talk about cost, these tools aren't that expensive to get from a cybersecurity team. This would even replace your antivirus, your Norton, McAfee, which would, of course, then in turn save money, but you're basically upgrading to the security tool that you actually need. Now, this next tip is something that's becoming more relevant than ever. And it's, once again, something that you can implement now. And I actually read an article today released by Microsoft. They released some recent data on password vulnerabilities and recent attacks on passwords. And some of these stats kind of really jumped out to me, but it said the overall volume of password attacks, the sheer scale, has soared to an estimated, it was over 900 attacks every second on overall password attacks. That's a 74% rise compared to 2021 in overall attacks regarding passwords. And these are numbers coming from Microsoft. They also said that roughly 20% of people also use identical logins and passwords across many websites, different applications, softwares. And of course, these should be changed, but these are even being repeat use of passwords, logins are being used for bank accounts, insurance information, very confidential information. And almost 20% of people are using these same logins and passwords. Now, why is this important? Why are password managers important? Why do you need a password manager? What is a password manager? Well, one, the cyber attackers, they understand that passwords are a vulnerability. There's a common trend where people reuse passwords or have very weak passwords. And now, when we talk about cyber attackers, they're thinking in conversion rates, easy paydays, quick paydays. And if there's a weakness, they're going to exploit it. And with passwords being a weakness, that's why we're seeing that high increase, that 74% rise in password attacks just in 1 year because that's a weakness. Now, how do you combat that? Of course, we recommend a password manager. And once again, not an expensive tool, something that you can use every day. And some of you may already be using that. But what is a password manager? Some people may call it a password vault or a password safe, but basically it's an encrypted location where you can keep all of your logins, credentials, passwords in one safe place. And all you have to memorize is one master password. You log in the beginning of the day, type your master password in, and now this password manager will fill in all of your logins as you go to different websites, applications, softwares, things like that. Now, that's one use for it, but it also can create long, extensive, customized random passwords for you. So you don't have to memorize, you don't have to worry about creating these long passwords or memorizing these long passwords. It does it all for you. And it can also keep up with the number of passwords that you're reusing. So now this won't be an easy fix, but every day, maybe you go in and change one reused password. Overall, over time, of course, that'll get your password strength and your overall password security where it needs to be. And of course, with these increase in attacks and the sheer risk of having these 1 word or maybe 5 character passwords, this password manager is something that I recommend implementing as soon as possible, not only from a business perspective, but on a personal side as well. I use it every day. I mean, for Facebook, Instagram, my bank account, my personal bank account. I keep all my passwords in there and I don't have to worry about it, but I know that my credentials are safe and secure. Now, some just tips that you can implement without a password manager is switching to passphrases instead of using maybe your first name and 3 letters for a password. You could say the cow jumped over the moon, or right, left, orange, something. Just using those password phrases is just an easy thing that you can implement to overall help your credential or overall login security.
So I want to touch on that just a little bit, especially in a business. Especially in marketing, I don't do hardly any of my social media posts, for promoting, webinars or radio interview, or not radio interviews, but gosh, I haven't been interviewed on a radio in years. But podcast interviews and videos of me speaking and all that. And so someone in our company does that. So they're using my social media password in most of those instances because they don't have it. It's not designed for a company to use, right? And the only way they can post as me is to have my credentials. Well, a password manager, a good one, will allow you to share your credentials with others in your personal life. It may be your significant other, maybe a very good friend or whatever, and you can do them selectively. It's not like you're sharing the whole thing out. So that way, if you or they change the password the next time you or they logs in, it's updated for everybody. And Davin mentioned that these are encrypted, and they're encrypted on the device they are created on. So even though it's synchronizing everywhere, there is no way to get the passwords out of a password manager unless the device itself has been compromised. So it's important to remember, because invariably somebody says, well, if all my passwords are in the cloud, well, what happens if that gets compromised? What are the cloud provider, if it's LastPass or whatever, because LastPass has had some security events. But architecturally, all of them are designed where they themselves cannot get access to your password. So if they themselves are breached, there's nothing there. They're super duper encrypted. I forgot what the encryption level is, but it's way, way up there. And until quantum computing actually exists, it's uncrackable. Yeah. So, and then another thing is, if you're using a password manager, just spin it up to 25 character passwords. We in just 2 years, the computing power, especially these graphics cards that are used to mine Bitcoin and other things, these things are advancing at a tremendous pace. And I can't remember the exact table, but just 2 years ago, if it took, say, 5 months to do a brute force computer attack, it's trying every combination of whatever number of characters. Now it's like 5 days instead of 5 months. Now it's 5 days in just 2 years. That may be a little bit much. Maybe it was 5 days to 5 hours, but things like 8 character passwords are instantaneous. And so if you go ahead and spin it up 25 characters, you've got years and years and years before we all have to worry about whether that's enough. And I've got passwords that are 30 years old because that's how long I've been using a password manager.
Yeah. Now it's becoming more and more important every day, and in the next year it'll just be part of life for everyone using and having a password manager. Now, we talked about human error and how 90% of successful cyber attacks are result from human error, someone accidentally messing up and providing information, clicking a link. Well, there's a way to combat that. And if you don't have cybersecurity training or overall really continuous cybersecurity training in place already, you need to implement this as soon as possible. And even from an insurance aspect, insurance companies, if you have a cyber insurance policy in place, insurance companies got slammed last year with payouts because of ransomware attacks. And now they're requiring, most cybersecurity or cyber insurance companies are requiring cybersecurity training in their policies for you to even be compliant with their cyber insurance policy. So if you have a claim and you don't have training in place, well, they say, hey, you're not compliant. We can't help you out anymore. And so security training, cybersecurity training is something that you can implement now. We have a monthly program, takes about 5-10 minutes max every month, and it overall helps keep your employees up to date with what's going on, but overall helps combat the human error vulnerability, that risk associated with every single business. Now, what I really like about specifically our training, but also if any training, I recommend that you implement this as well. It's simulated phishing emails. Lots of you probably get phishing emails or emails that look like Facebook is asking you to update your password or something like that. And from there, you put in your credentials and now you've been phished or you have something malicious on your device. That's something that is very easy to overlook and fall a victim to because just we're in a hurry, human error. But this phishing training that we provide and that we recommend, send out simulated phishing emails. Could look like it's coming from Facebook. Say an employee accidentally clicks on it, but instead of your network experiencing a ransomware attack, you get a training pop-up that says, hey, you've been phished by IronTech Security. This is how we got you. This is what to look out for next time. And overall, like I said, instead of experiencing that ransomware attack and being down for 1-2 weeks and all the downtime costs associated with that, you have a quick training and hopefully this won't happen again. But overall, that vulnerability of human error has to be combated with cybersecurity training. And once a quarter or once a year just isn't enough anymore. Monthly is really the bare minimum of what you should do regarding training your employees to help keep your doors open, to protect your organization. Now, this next one goes hand in hand with password managers, but with the increase in password compromises and overall login and credential compromises, MFA or multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication is becoming essential really in every organization, every login software website. And we recommend using multi-factor authentication anywhere and everywhere that it can be used, in wherever it can be offered. And specifically with the way businesses are changing with employees working remote, working all over the world, all over the United States, multi-factor authentication becoming extremely important because those employees may be remoting in to a server that they have to access to do their daily job, or they may be remoting into a desktop in the office where they need to access the tools they need to do their daily job. And during that connection, there's a lot of risk and vulnerabilities in place. Say they have remote access and that their credentials become compromised to remote into their desktop. Well, if those credentials become compromised, it is very hard to detect a threat from that specific instance, because it may look like it is that specific employee accessing their computer as normal. But if it's someone malicious or an overall cyber criminal, of course, that risk or that vulnerability attached to them remoting in, they may have access to everything. They may have the keys to the kingdom, and being able to detect that threat is very hard because it looks like it's your employee, but that vulnerability, that risk can be easily taken care of by using multi-factor authentication. Because if your credentials, if your password becomes compromised and you have multi-factor authentication being used, the next thing they have to do after trying to log in is reach in your pocket, or specifically for me, reach in my pocket and pull my phone out of my pocket without me knowing, and get the 3, 4, 5, 6 digits that's correlated to the multi-factor, the MFA code, and then continue logging in, which is extremely difficult. I haven't heard of that happening yet, but that's the best way to combat that vulnerability. MFA is becoming more common. It's being used more than ever in the past years. And so if wherever you can use it, like, again, this is, like I said before, this is something you can implement today very inexpensively, but use multi-factor authentication anywhere and everywhere that you can. Now, those are 4 easy tips that you can implement today, but from those tips, I know that can be a lot of information, and I always get asked the question, well, okay, what do I do with this information? What's the first step? How do I get started? I don't even know what we have in place. I don't even know where we're vulnerable. I don't even know what to do. So anytime I get asked that question, what's the first step? I always recommend business owners, CEOs, managers. First step is assess your risk. Get a cybersecurity and risk assessment. Schedule one. We offer one for free. Usually, sometimes they go $500, $700, $1,000. But to help everyone out, especially with the holidays coming up, we offer an assessment for free. And basically, it's a little time commitment. It takes 2 30-minute meetings. But in this assessment, you'll see here on the screen where we go through multiple different sections or focuses in your business. We talk about security, and we reveal some of the things that you're doing well. You may have security practices in place already, or your IT may have some security tools in place. And if they do, it's still great to have an assessment, because then you also see the vulnerabilities that you may have, those gaps that you may need to fill with that assessment. Such as antivirus. Maybe you're still using antivirus. We understand why that's useless. We all understand that now, but there's a tool that you can get to fix that, to address that gap, to fill that gap. And starting in the assessment, you may get something that looks like this. These red areas are something that things that you need to address immediately. Yellow are things maybe that you can start planning to address in the future. Green are things that you're already doing well. But overall, once you understand your risk, understand where you're vulnerable, then we work with you to develop a security plan that fits exactly what you need. There's not a one size fits all security plan for every business. Every business has different vulnerabilities. Every business has different gaps. And so we build that plan with you, with your IT team, whoever it needs to be. And we make sure you get these exact specific security tools to protect your organization to the best of the best of our ability. And from that, like I said, this assessment is free. We develop that plan for you, and then we either implement that plan for you, or we recommend you, or you can take these recommendations and do whatever you would like. But the first step is scheduling an assessment and overall understanding where you're vulnerable at. If you just throw security tools at your company, you're basically just throwing money away, because some of the tools you may not need, and some tools may be overlapping. And so we help you develop that plan to get the proper security that you need. Now, to do this, it's very simple and easy to get this free security and risk assessment. There's a meeting link right here, meeting.irontechsecurity.com. You can go there and schedule a meeting after the holidays. I don't expect to be talking to you all Thursday or Friday. I personally will be in a food coma the next couple of days, but next week or the following weeks, even plan, you can schedule towards the end of the year. You can get that security assessment scheduled. And like I said, very easy, very easy. You don't have to be in IT or head of IT. We won't be downloading anything on your computers. We don't need your logins, credentials, anything like that. Very conversational and operations focused around your business. And then, of course, from that, we can make sure you get the security you need very quick and easy. If you have questions or just would like to chat, understand a little bit more about a certain topic or how some of these security tools would work in your business, you can shoot me an email or feel free to call at any time, and I'd be happy to talk with you all.
Yeah. Hey, Davin, I just wanted to mention a little bit more about from a CEO or whatever your leadership title is, your manager title is, a captain has to know the condition of a ship before he sets sail. A captain of a big cargo ship leaving Shanghai for Long Beach knows his crew experience. He knows what the cargo is. He knows how it's loaded, ship, weather, all of these things to decrease the likelihood of a catastrophic failure of him arriving safely in port. And the same thing applies to implementing cybersecurity because the awareness is just not there yet. Some people hope that it doesn't happen to them, or some people are under the mistaken belief that none of our people are going to fall for, a scam. And that's simply not true. And the reason I know that is there's only one person in our company that hasn't fallen for our simulated attacks through emails and other methods. And these are good. These are really good emails. They're pros. These are hacking professionals. But where we are as a worldwide society as it applies to cybersecurity is we're not at that point where it's an automatic decision like it is with implementing IT or investing in IT. That's a pure management operational decision. Yeah, we're going to put PCs and servers and the right technology to increase productivity and efficiency in the bottom line and other objectives. You don't have to think about that. Everyone just knows it after 40 or 50 years of the PC being around. When it comes to cybersecurity, it's not common knowledge or common sense knowledge. You've got to understand the risk. So the decision to implement industrial strength or enterprise grade security defenses right now for most people is more of a leadership and a strategic decision. It's not going to impact the P&L positively each and every day like an investment in IT will. You're thinking in terms long-term viability of the firm, fines depending on what industry you're in, and regulations are coming up for all sorts of industries each and every day.
Yeah,
we've got to get as a country and a world, we've got to get our stuff together and quit dealing with these attacks. And so when you realize that 40 to 60% of small to medium-sized businesses go out of business within 6 months to 2 years of a successful attack, you are thinking about long-term viability and, are you going to have to lay people off? All the stakeholders in your organization, customers, employees, maybe even vendors, and whoever else you serve, communities, and cities, and states, and nations. It's right now, it's more of a strategic and it's a leadership decision. So it's a leadership decision to find out where you are and to make adjustments and then to walk the talk. That if I had to sum up everything that Davin just said, that's it. Now, he's given you some of the tools that we go about using to make sure that you are safe. And it's not about, we need to take it, everyone needs to go from a 10 to 15% chance of being hacked someday down to a 0.01%. Nothing's 100%. If the NSA can be breached, anyone can. But that's, I've really been thinking a lot about this over the past several months and years, that for the most part, companies get hacked because of a failure in leadership. You know, these attacks are like an airplane crash. There's 4 or 5 or 6 things that all contribute. Now, maybe it's the weather in an airplane crash. Yeah. But there was also something that probably wasn't checked out, and maybe the pilot made a mistake and the aircraft, and, you know, and so you got the human element. But then if you don't back up that human failure with a tool like an EDR, or you're reusing passwords, that's a leadership failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the sooner that everyone realizes that, the safer we'll all be. So this isn't just about, you know, trying to get you guys to buy from us. It's about trying to get you guys to learn and to do this stuff, whether you buy it from us or not. None of us are safe if all of us don't do this.
Yeah,
so
it's just part of doing business now. It's not going away anytime soon. Well, if there's no questions, we'll stand here a little bit longer just to answer any questions if you have any. But like I said, we do this every single month. Next month will be the last Thursday of the month, and we'll be doing a different topic regarding cybersecurity. And if you have any specific topics that you'd like to hear us talk about, feel free to throw them in the chat or on LinkedIn. You can find us, Davin Chitwood or Tom Kirkham, and feel free to shoot us a message or post on our page and exactly what you'd like for us to talk about. And we definitely see what we can fit that in either next month or the following months in 2023. I don't see any questions coming in. I know we went a little over time today, but thank you all for hopping on, and I look forward to speaking to you all shortly, and enjoy the holidays and happy Thanksgiving.